Greetings and salutations and welcome to this extremely late League of Legends patch 3.14 podcast, also known as a Season 4 podcast, in which we're going to discuss the changes in the meta, which I'm assured doesn't actually exist anymore, and a bunch of other things. And today I'm joined by two guests. One of them is White Maelstrom. He is a man who is also a hamster wearing a sombrero. How are you, White Maelstrom?
I am good. I am wearing a sombrero.
I thought you might be. I'm also joined by, I want to call him my resident League of Legends expert, but he doesn't want to be called that because he thinks there's no meta and he's only slightly more well-read than I am. He is the Kable Chaos.
Hi, everyone.
He's not happy that I said that.
Well,
he wanted to be introduced as a regular support player, but that seems like a really dull title, so I went with what I had.
hey, that's all right. Yeah. I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be.
But you do know more about current metas than I do, but because there are no current metas, we're kind of on an equal playing field. You just watch more videos and read more than I do.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's not an equal playing field at all. So Maelstrom, how have your games of League of Legends been going in the early days of Season 4?
It's definitely a lot different from Season 3.
A lot different. Better or worse? Just right out there. Straight away, what's your answer? Is it better or worse than it used to be?
It really depends what role you're playing. If it's better or worse. If you're top or mid, there is no real change. But if you're the jungle, if you're AD carry or your support, it's changed quite a bit. Mainly because of new trinkets.
And Kable Chaos, what are your opinions on the Season 4 changes? Again, better or worse?
Well, initially, I was like, this is terrible. What have they done to my support role? There's no ward wars anymore. And the amount of wards to capacity to have stealth wards or pink revealing wards is well out of proportion. But I've now come around to, I'm liking it. I'm getting used to it. I'm just used to the fact that there's wards everywhere and I can't do anything about it.
Well, it's interesting to note, and I haven't really thought about it until you just said it then, with the whole, there's no wards, my support's completely changed. How do I deal with this? Something that I've noticed a lot, without actually noticing, supports actually have gold now. There were a lot of games where my support, or just the support in the game I was in, because I don't typically AD carry, but our support would be 5 levels under and have 2 items finished in the mid-game. They'd still be having a huge contribution, but they spent so much time placing wards that they ended up under-farmed, under-leveled, and under-golded. Really, really poor, and that doesn't exist anymore, I've found. But I suppose we should try and structure this and discuss various topics, because there is a lot of topics to discuss. And we've already sort of branched into the elephant in the room, the vision changes. So, for those of you who haven't played League of Legends in like a month, wards are different now.
They are.
There's so many different ideas of how to deal with the whole warding and trinket system. Personally, I believe that vision wards, pink wards, because they're no longer stealthed and take a long time to kill, are useful for placing in areas where you're unlikely to have them destroyed, but you would like to have vision of that area for a long period of time. They do have that infinite duration. And so, one of the tricks that Kable Chaos actually taught me was that you place a pink ward in the back of the Baron Pit and the back of the Dragon Pit, and suddenly you've got vision until the enemy take that objective. They actually have to enter the pit to see the ward, and you've got infinite time to just see that dragon and know when it's there and know when they're going for it.
Yeah, as soon as that ward disappears, you know that they've been there and just taken it, or they're about to take it. It's very rare that anyone actually enters either of those pits to actually have a look around to spot the vision ward. And so that infinite duration, you have a bit of value for your 100 gold. So it's worth picking up one or two just to cover those key objectives that you can easily hide that ward.
I'm going to extrapolate here, because that's a brand new idea. Like, as of about 4 days ago, people started placing pink wards at Dragon and Baron, and it's brand new to a lot of players. I suspect that it's going to become part of the jungler's role to actually enter the pit at random intervals to clear out the pinks.
Well, not necessarily constantly. I mean, you could do it for, a couple extra bits of gold as you're walking past, but I don't think they'll need to clear it until... So maybe, and that early dragon that you want to get away with first, you'll want to have that cleared, so you might do a run past and clear it out, and then go on and gank somewhere else, and then come back with your team and with your 3 or 4 men to take out the dragon after achieving an objective.
The other major change towards is the whole 3 ward limit. Now, before I go on, Nick's been quiet, sorry. Maelstrom has been quiet.
Hi.
What do you think on 3 ward limit? What are your opinions?
It certainly gives a bit of less stress to the support, because they don't have to worry about filling up completely on wards. They get 3, or if you're some supports which I've seen, they get the yellow ward trinket first. Then they get 3 wards, and then they're pretty much set for a long time. 3 ward limit, I think that's really all you need at a time.
Well, it's all I'd ever place, because I
Yeah.
didn't buy wards, I just ran off my ruby, which is why I'm a terrible support.
River, ward the tri-bush on both sides. If you're on the blue side or the purple side, both sides, and to ward 1 bush in lane.
Actually, the tri-bush bottom lane blue team, I saw a player today pink ward the tri-bush, which I thought at first that's really odd. Like, it's a pink ward that's fairly open to killing, but unless you're getting ganked through there, until your tower falls, the enemy have no reason to walk through there, and it actually lived through about half the game, providing useful vision of the river, not much vision, but useful vision, and a little bit of knowledge of enemy movements when they were trying to steal our red, which they did a lot, because, pro tip, it's not really a tip or anything, and it's certainly not pro, I haven't won a game since, this week started. I am on the worst dry spell of LoL, and it's painful. Makes me think I should Taric more, because he was the last champion I won with. Oh no, Vladimir, because today. Anyway, off topic. I think the whole 3 ward, I expected at some point to see everybody, every role, buy a ruby sightstone. Because health is nice, and it means everybody has all the wards you need. But trinkets kind of play into that, in that people are like, nah, I don't need more than 1 ward. I have my trinket ward. It lasts the whole 60 seconds until I reach level 9, but it's the best thing in the world. That I don't like, which of course brings us to trinkets.
Yes, well, the with that maximum of 3 and people just using that trinket, that's between the 2 people in bottom lane, this is exclusively to bottom lane, you can cover 1 bush for 2/3 of the time, but there's 1/3 where you are open to gank. Have your trinket up to be able to be used effectively. So you've still got to invest in those wards. Even as an ADC, you should pick up 1 ward. If you've got a little bit extra gold left over, oh yep, bought my BF sword, I got a little extra gold, I'll buy a ward, help out the support, might save myself from a gank. You need to do that still.
Which trinket do you buy?
Early game, I will buy the vision trinket, and I'll swap
Oh, yeah.
the ward trinket, the invisible ward trinket,
The
and then
warding totem.
warding totem. And then I will swap to the which one's the red one?
The sweeping
The-
lens.
The sweeping lens, that one. Then I'll swap to that one to clear out wards post that early game, basically.
Yeah.
Just so that I can clear out wards and start denying them some vision, as opposed to just throwing out more wards.
See, when I'm rolling my Taric support, I actually really like taking the sweeping lens because I can deny vision for a great deal of time, but that means you have to be buying wards regular up until you get your Ruby Sightstone. Because while I'm waiting to get that Ruby Sightstone, and God knows I rush face the mountain because mountain to the face, but while I'm working toward that Ruby Sightstone, buying wards all the time, same as I was in Season 3, and whenever the enemy try and ward, because almost everyone I see has only got the warding token, the warding totem trinket, I just go, no, you can't have that, and break that ward. 9 times out of 10, they can't stop me. On the downside of that, the lens does have a stupidly long cooldown. Which trinket are you taking, Maelstrom?
I'm a big fan of Orianna support. If there's a chance that I can use her as a support, I will usually go her, and I will usually take the sweeping lens, because her ball can count as a mini ward.
It does, doesn't it? Because you can place that and then just sort of run around the lane throwing clockwork shuriken at people, and not long range, but a lot of things people haven't noticed about the warding totem, it doesn't have the same range as a regular ward.
No, it doesn't.
You place that in the river bush, doing a lot of talking about bottom lane, but you place that in the river bush, you won't actually see all the way across the river. Maybe it's close. I'm not quite sure on the exact stats, but it's very close to having a blind spot across the river, which is interesting to say the least, and your Orianna ball isn't going to be much worse than that.
If I'm playing sort of a normal support, like Janna or Nami or Sona, or them, I will usually take the Vision Ward. But if there's a chance I can take Orianna, I will.
That ward is really nice. I suppose that's really all we got to talk about with trinkets, because no one's got anything else to say. Nobody
carrying the blue
uses
trinket.
this scrying orb. No,
Yeah.
like I've seen people take it, and I did myself for a little bit, but its cooldown is also probably longer than it should be, considering it only reveals for 1 second.
Yeah.
Like, it's a tiny area. Yes, you can cast it at reasonable range, but it's a tiny area of detection and a very short duration, and because I have extremely high lag, I often can't see them until that 1 second is over, and so that scrying orb does nothing for me. And the players that I've seen buy it haven't actually ever used it. I never see that little circle pop up on the map. I feel it needs a buff, is all I'm saying.
It does. 150-second cooldown for 1 second.
It's the perfect face check if you're on your own as say an AD carry. It's perfect to go out. I got that gank feeling. I think I'm just going to pop this in a bush nearby and see if they're actually coming for me and then get my ass out of there, or I'll just keep pushing as required. But the AD carries aren't using it in favour of warding totem because you need 2 at level 1 to actually sustain warding over your lane. And no one else really uses it. No one else needs it that much over the warding totem. Warding totem's just outright better at the minute and has more upgrade options that are viable. That's the last thing we should say about the vision totem. Particularly when playing supports, upgrading it to the pink ward option, I often think is better than upgrading it to stealth ward, because I've always got a Ruby Sightstone, that gives me a free pink ward that I can place down at those objectives for that long-term vision, like I've said before, with the place behind Baron, etc. It's not that expensive. It does delay maybe an elixir, because you get it really, really late. But considering the Ruby Sightstone, I'd rather do that than have a full duration ward. Just cause.
Yeah.
Have you actually upgraded it? 'Cause
I'm notorious for forgetting to upgrade, because I usually just buy just normal wards anyway.
I normally forget to actually buy the trinkets.
Really?
I'm into lane. What did I forget? I'll just be back. I'll get here with the minions instead of ahead of time.
I have been in a few games where people have forgotten. You let them know. You've forgotten the trinket, but they don't go buy. They don't go back and buy it, which I don't understand. Maybe
I didn't have a trinket for about 30 minutes in a 40-minute game one day. I just every time I beat, I forgot about it, and then I
forgot.
get into
Yeah.
and go, God damn it! And so now, if I don't have it, I'll automatically be, because
Yeah.
I need to get in the habit of getting it, and punishing myself with that very early B, kind of important. Part of the learning process. So I suppose we should move on to the other rather large elephant in the room, the support changes. Oh my god.
Bring it on.
Bring us more of those things. I don't know which champions you'd throw them on, but the changes out the wazoo.
But there are so many changes. They've made supporting for other characters a lot more viable. That's why I really like Orianna now, because in Season 3, she was a good support. Didn't do that much damage, but she could peel really well. Now with the Season 4 changes, with a few of these new items and how much gold that supports are now able to obtain, many supports that weren't viable then are very viable now. Annie and supports like that.
Annie was always viable, don't get me wrong, but she's now super viable.
She's very viable.
To the point where I've seen players with specific rune pages for supporting Annie.
Yep.
It's designed to have both armor and AP and cooldown reduction, etc., as opposed to a regular support rune page. Very aggressive. I do feel they nerfed Janna's passive, because it's like, hey, you used to give everyone 3% movement speed, now you give one person 5, unless you're moving as a team. So in endgame it's kind of a buff, technically. It still feels weak, in my opinion. 5% is not much movement speed. I suppose it's 15%. Or 15 points, rather. Not 15%, otherwise that'd be way OP. Not really sure. But the whole scaling on utility, someone give whoever came up with that a medal.
Yeah, definitely.
just outright award him with the Medal of Honor, because he deserves it. Freaking Lulu can speed buff an ally to about 100% speed increase if she's built heavy AP, which is stupid, but some people do it, myself included. Nami, her passive has frickin' AP scaling.
And thank God. That was one thing that always annoyed me when I was playing Nami, that I would bounce all these fishes. And while it was so much fun, I won't deny that I just did it for the shits and giggles, and I kind of refused to heal my AD carry unless the fish was going to bounce. That made me happy. Other adds all this stuff. It's great.
I played against a Nami today who just could not be caught. Like, middle of a team fight, even if you gunned straight for her, she'd outmaneuver you with level 1 boots. Purely from passive. From her passive and her AP, she'd just be like, ha, lol, I'm over here now. You can't catch me, and my team's killing you. I'm not sure what's happened to Sona, though. I don't even understand. Because it seemed to me like a serious buff, particularly on power chord, but it seemed like she got a lot of power. But ever since I've not seen anyone play her, and the ones I have seen have been really bad, like me levels of Sona play, and I don't... Yeah, Heimerdinger took a hit. Let's be honest, Heimerdinger was kind of overpowered, and you deserve to take that hit.
Yeah.
But so much utility that you have now with your whole freaking... you've got slow amount AP ratios, you've got damage reduction AP ratios. Why aren't you playing Sona? Alright, because Soraka and Taric exist. Supports are godly now.
They are. I don't know whether this will become a new thing, but I've seen a lot of support LeBlancs now.
Support LeBlanc?
Mm.
Huh.
I was watching I think this was gold level ranked match, so it's not complete pro, but they're not
scrub-a-dubs.
They're not scrub-a-dubs. That's probably a nicer way of saying it than what I had in mind. But I was watching it expecting it to fall flat on its face, but it didn't. It was just a long combo.
Yeah.
And it was working.
Well, silence is surprisingly powerful, particularly hers. And that chain would be really useful because it outright forces a flash.
It does.
The duration of the slow combined with the duration of the snare, and if you've got your ulti, you can throw it on again the moment you hit the snare to get a second snare. Like, they have to flash to break that chain, or they're screwed.
And usually some good LeBlanc players throw the chain out but don't follow it up because they just want to get rid of the flash. Because I know when I've been up against LeBlanc, if that chain hits me, panic flash happens.
Yeah, you seriously need to worry. Particularly, like, even champions that can go untargetable still get chained. It's like, oh, I'm Vlad, I just puddled, and I'm trapped. Why?
Chain puddle.
Why, I don't understand how you can chain puddle. What? I'm surprised we're not seeing more Sorakas, but let's be honest, Soraka now is seriously OP in, like, the mid lane and top lane. She does whatever she wants now.
Talking about OP, Taric.
Oh my god. I just bought a skin for him because he's made it into my specific ranked team, which is basically all the champions that I'm willing to play in a ranked game.
His things now.
Oh my god.
The percentage of his armor.
It's like, hey.
So, all you just need is to be complete boss mode Taric. With like 500 armor, waltz into fight, and just
you can't
clap.
die and do 1,000,000 damage. Like, actually 1,000,000. You've got scaling on your health, so long as you've got health and armor, aka the Sunfire Cape, you cannot lose a fight.
It does. I had a ranked game I think it was about a week ago, and I was Taric, and I didn't actually want to be Taric. I think it was 3 a.m, and I wasn't actually sure what was going on.
Best time to be playing Taric.
I chose Taric, and then I'm like, alright, someone's close to me, I'll stun them. And I'm just like, that did a lot of damage.
It doesn't get any clearer for me than this moment. I queued up for a game, and some guy locked in Alistair. And I thought maybe he was jungle or something, I don't know. And so I was like, okay, I'll support. He hadn't said anything in chat, so I feel fully justified in saying that I'll support.
Fair point.
And he was like, no, I'm support, you dunce. I'm like, oh, right. And so suddenly you've got 2 supports locked in.
Yep.
I said, okay, let's do this. We're up against Varus and some stock standard support champion that wasn't Taric.
Yep.
We destroyed them! It was a double support kill lane. Take in mind that both of them have abilities that heal both of them.
Yep. We've
got shared armor, we've got stuns and knockups and headbutts out the wazoo, we've got the billions of damage that Shatter does, not to mention Taric's passive, which essentially turns you into a slightly slower melee rise. Once our first gank came for us, because yes, they were outlast hitting us, we kinda did get double killed to a tower. But once we had our first gank, we got on top, and I stopped dying. I I actually don't think I died at all that game. Maybe right at the end, because I wanted to sacrifice myself for the cow who'd helped me get so incredibly fed. But fed Taric is insane.
It is.
You can't actually beat it, I don't think. You need probably
I think I was either watching the game or I was playing with you where they had a boss mode Taric, which was just, like 500 plus armor. It may have been more than that, but, he might be slow, but if it catches you, just bend over. There's nothing you can do.
Bend over, because you know he wants it. He's still Taric.
He's still Taric.
Oh, I can't stress enough how OP Taric is. Yet at the same time, I don't feel like he's actually... yes, a fed Taric could win a game, but a good Taric isn't going to let himself get fed and feed his AD carry. And Tarics can still be on the losing team, because he can't force a team fight victory if your team's behind. He can't... He can be really, really powerful and 1v1 anybody he wants, except probably serious lifesteal champs. But my god, does he do a good effort of it.
He does.
And with Kable Chaos just returning, we are about to start talking about the new support items, aka the new gold-getting items. What do you think, Kable Chaos?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. The new items are... Well, at first, I didn't at all like... up here. Where is it? Support items, there you go. The Spell Thief's Edge. Initially, I didn't like that at all. I'm like, I'd rather much have Cage's Lucky Pick. But after...
Synergy.
But it lacks cooldown reduction. So, see, most of my support mages, such as Karma, Syndra, and... who else am I running at the moment? Yorick. He's also another good one. While they do like the ability power and the mana regen and the gold, and the capacity to get gold from, I'd like the ancient coin, the ancient coin better, simply because it works into 20% cooldown reduction, and those are champions that you just want to be able to spam the crap out of your abilities so frequently.
That is true.
And so it's sort of a toss-up between I can do more damage but less frequently, or I can start working towards my 40% maximum cooldown reduction on Karma, for instance, and be able to just smash out those abilities, have my ult up, almost every freeze, and be able to just poke like crazy.
Actually, taking a look at it, I think that's exactly the point. Because, the tribute passive, where you get gold for poking, that basically is occasionally. It's every 10 seconds. That's not very often. Whereas Ancient Coin gets you money all the time, and it seems to be the choice of, okay, do you want to be damaging constantly with your poke, or do you want to be poking harder occasionally?
But at the same time, if you I play only champions that can carry. Because if my AD carry disconnects, I want to be able to still contribute to the game. So I still want to be able to have that gold generation constantly. And if I have to stay in the lane and I'm out of mana, which quite frequently I'm on the lower end of this things, I'm not poking as much, then that passive of being able to poke and earn money sort of isn't as useful to me. Whereas I want to still, as long as my AD carry is there, I can be making money regardless of whether or not I'm getting the last hits.
Even tower kills count for that. Like Talisman of Ascension and Ancient Coin and Nomad Medallion, all that tier is really good item. But you know where that's a great item? ARAM.
Yeah.
That is the best starting item in ARAM right now, because no one gets farm in ARAM. It's not actually humanly possible. I've seen one guy hit 300 farm, and I was... How? It blows my mind. But you take a Talisman of Ascension, you've got gold raining down on you. Always. Particularly if you've got that support mastery that's like, here, have a coin every time a minion dies.
Yeah.
That's insane. But of all of these, I have to say I love Relic Shield. It is legitimately OP.
For a few games, I've seen people not even use a jungle. They just have a dual lane top, and then they get
Dual
to
lane top, double Relic Shield, you can't be beaten. Because anytime you get perked, it's just Relic Shields heal up, and overall you're getting almost 2 times the gold, even if you're sharing farm.
I don't know whether they said they're changing it or they'll
that has been hotfixed.
Has been changed. Okay.
That has been where was the change? It was
They made it
recharges every 30 seconds instead of 60. Or
yeah, they upped it to 60 seconds.
Yep.
Which is a probably valid choice.
It's still a strong item.
It's
like
I feel like it's exactly where it needs to be because tanky champions love it like anything, but at the same time it doesn't give you that much health.
Level 2 Nautilus all in, and they've taken you down to half health. You just stand in the bushes for a little bit, and before you know it, you're back up to full health again.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm so crippled."
It's actually bigger into health regen than it is to health, which is not what a lot of players expect.
Alright, 6/6 is a lot of health regen for the starting cost of health regen early game. If you could all in them and then walk away from that and just go, yeah, I'm still in lane, I'm still at half health, because you're playing a tankier champion and melee, you can stay in the game for that much longer, and then before you know it, you're back up to full health because you haven't had the chance to go all in again, because they're pushed back at the tower.
If your AD carry's been injured, that 2% heal is really awesome, particularly if you're, say, Nautilus, who's got 1 million health. It's healing based on your current maximum health, so you're giving massive heals to your AD carry. It's the best item. I've theorized that you could do a double AD carry lane with Relic Shields, but sharing farm is complicated, and so nobody tries. Deadly Phalanx, however, I feel needs a nerf. That seems really odd considering it's an active effect of an ability or of an item. The item's really good, don't get me wrong, but the active effect doesn't seem very strong. 20% of your current health to heal or shield a target ally for 10% of your maximum health for 4 seconds. After 4 seconds, shield explodes, dealing 10% of your maximum health as AoE damage. The problem I have with that ability is also my favorite aspect of it. You can actually self-cast it. If you're a massive health champion, say 7,000 health Volibear, which we haven't seen in a long time, but suggest for the sake of argument that it happens. Suggest you're running from the enemy team and you're on half health, or probably less, you're on a quarter health. If you pop that shield on yourself, 20% of your current health isn't that much because you're seriously injured. But 10% of your maximum health is 700 health because you're 7,000 Volibear. And then after 4 seconds, 700 damage in a massive AoE. I've saved lives as Taric by effectively healing them, and the range on that ability is absurd. We're not talking Kale ultimates, but we're pretty frickin' close. You can just, have a shield, that'll block 1 or 2 auto attacks and allow you to get out of that fight, and then, whenever you're ready, you'll explode. Leona, if she's going a high health build, she can pop it on herself and then dive into the enemy team, AoE stuns all over the place, and shred them with that explosion. It doesn't sound like a lot of damage, and I suppose it really isn't, but at the same time it is. That's what I'm saying. Have you actually ever used the actives of any of these items? Well, I suppose everyone's used Talisman of Ascension, because it's just Australia's Revelry all over again.
I've used Frost Queen's Claim quite a bit.
That's nice. 50 magic damage seems so silly, but then you slow them by 50%.
Yep. It's
like that'll
honestly,
cost
I haven't...
a flash to catch back up that
yep.
2 seconds of 50% slow.
Honestly, the passive and the 50 magic damage, I didn't actually know how much magic damage it did. Now I know. I literally only got it for the slow.
You don't really need it for the magic damage, although I have I think I did, or maybe I saw a Frost Queen claim kill.
Wow.
Someone's seriously injured and just POW! You die now.
I would
Actually a thing
cry
to do.
if that happened to me. I'd just sit and probably rethink my life.
You probably should. Face of the Mountain. Face of the Mountain risks us, I feel, risks going back to that Season 2 state of every team is just all tanks.
Yeah.
Because if you got 5 tanks, including, say, a Scion, built plenty of health, armor, and magic resist, and then just all Face of the Mountain yourselves and ran into the enemy team, I'm pretty sure they've already lost.
Yeah. Percentage health damage for the win, though, against that team.
Percentage health damage would destroy. Like, you throw in a Malzahar and a Vayne and you've already won. That is the solution.
Yes, but it can run that, but I don't think it's going to. I think the game's developed a bit further beyond, let's all run tanks and bruisers and stuff like that.
We've had enough time with everyone running tanks in the past that by now everyone knows how to deal with a tank.
Yeah, well, I think in the bronze, that could happen. In your lower ranks, you'd have 1 or 2 people playing those really, really high percentage damage champions, and then everyone else running tanks, just because they can provide, especially if they're using Face of the Mountain, provide that shield and that healing in mid-fight. Hitting a minion that's nearby, usually, you can provide that heal mid-game, but the shields especially.
If you're
to
building
protect
a
your
tank, if you're building a high health tank, I reckon you have to get that item regardless of your role. Not necessarily as your first item, particularly if you're a jungle tank, but if you're looking at getting anywhere approaching 4k health, that will provide extra health for your AD carry and allow you to do your job better. Best item in-game.
Yep.
In my opinion. I don't know if everyone else agrees, but in my opinion.
No, I don't know about best item, but it's up there.
I think if I played more champions, which that'd be useful for, I'd probably like it the most. But
you're not huge into tankiness, you're more of a damage dealer.
Yep.
Not specifically glass cannon, but certainly not a tank.
No.
But I've still had, even with the new Relic Shield, I've had people run double bruiser bottom lane and face roll.
Yeah.
Jackson Fizz was a terrible combination to go up against. I'm like, what am I supposed to do
How
here?
do you even deal with a Jackson Fizz? Because, I mean, one can pole, the other can hey, I'm dodging all your attacks. Like, the amount of time in which those two are undamageable and yet prepping for powerful strikes against your team is not fair.
Is that another bend over moment?
I think that's a bend over moment.
I think it's a bend over.
That was a surrender
Fizz
over.
has a
Surrender at
fish for
20.
you. Let's talk about the last major change that is a little bit more subtle, not so noticeable, the jungle item changes and the change to smite.
Change to smite is awesome.
Oh god, yes.
You open with it. I'd like if you open up with it, but I've been opening up with smite on the blue, and then having a couple of people help me take it down that last little bit, get it, and then by the time it's recharged again, I'm at the next
You're a red buff.
Add my red buff, and it's good to go again.
You could open with it and then go straight for red buff after clearing blue, and with most champions, you'd probably be able to at least use your smite to finish the red buff.
Yeah.
That cooldown is tiny.
I've been
So
liking
good.
lots of Kha'Zix jungle.
Kha'Zix jungle is a thing again. I like that, because Kha'Zix is an amazing jungle, and everyone's like, no, play him mid, get spike racks, the way OP. It's like, no, don't need it.
No. Go blue, go that the Wraith, the new Wraith camp.
New Wraith Camp's weird.
No, it's good.
It's good.
It's those single target junglers like Kha'Zix can kill him really quickly because of the bonus damage that he does.
Yeah, I didn't even
45%. And then you go straight to red, and it's back up, ready, good to go. You just need to watch out you don't get counter jungled.
Because counter jungling is a thing. I like they're bringing Wriggle's Lantern Ward back up to 180 seconds over 90 seconds, because that was stupid. I did not approve of that. And I love all the gold changes. Because I feel like no matter which item I get, and I think I usually go Ancient Golem, the game is basically giving me a counter of, okay, how long have you been out of jungle? Go back into jungle now. Gives me that time to go, okay, so as much as this gank has been fun and I want to push this tower, maybe I should go and kill a large minion because 40 gold. Or if you're going more the Elder Lizard option, it's basically saying, you need to gank more. You should keep ganking.
Yeah.
It makes you... It forces you into a specific role in your jungle, rather either tank or gank. Tank or gank. And then you actually get the game telling you to do it. On your screen it's going, hey, you could get extra gold.
It's taunting me.
It's really, really nice. I think the weakest of them is Spirit of the Spectral Wraith, because it's actually the same effect as Elder Lizard, but for a mage.
Mm.
And I'm not sure I like that.
I haven't tried it out yet. I haven't tried my Diana jungle to actually see if it's worth that mage jungle yet. It's been too powerful to have on Kha'Zix to not pick him. Oh, everyone. Oh, God.
It'd be interesting if they put the smite cooldown reduction back onto Spectral Wraith, because AP jungles would just be all like, hey, smite every 20 seconds, because why not?
Yeah.
That would probably be overpowered, but it would also be really interesting to see applied to the game.
I don't know. Has anyone tried the Fiddlesticks jungle lately?
I have not, no.
No. Fiddlesticks is currently... Actually, not even anymore has he been a support, because everyone's like, no, I've got Face of the Mountain, you can't deal with me. And Fiddlesticks with Face of the Mountain would just look silly. Jungle's a really nice place right now, because you can see those glass cannons again, and actually not have an excuse to report them at the end of the game, because they're actually viable. Although... maybe building man mode Pantheon was not a great idea.
It wasn't one of your finest moments. No.
Some days man mode Pantheon will just roll from lane to lane, ganky, and actually only return to jungle to pick up a buff.
One day.
But if you don't get the counter jungle that you need, in which you kill at least one enemy champion, just go home.
If you're looking to counter jungle,
you just need it with Pantheon, particularly if you're building 33% extra critical damage as your runes.
Yeah, I would definitely be looking at rather than counter jungling with Pantheon, Kha'Zix. You really that 45% damage increase on an isolated target, and if they're on their buff, like if you sit in that red check it before they take it, and you're one of those carry junglers, especially Kha'Zix, boom, you can just destroy them so quickly.
And that brings us, of course, back to the change to Smite, because most people, or at least some players, are opening with Smite because they like the shorter cooldown and they want to be able to utilize it again very soon. If you open with Smite, well, not even if you open with Smite, the reason you didn't open with Smite in Season 2 and 3 was because someone would then close with Smite. They'd be sitting in the bush and go, yeah, I'm going to take that. So a Kha'Zix counter jungle, or any counter jungle, can go, okay, you've just smited that, well, I'm going to smite it as well. And I'm going to take the buff. And now you're dead.
It's pretty hard to match a Kha'Zix when he uses his Q ability.
Oh my god,
and
so much damage.
In conjunction with your smite. That extra damage is pretty hard to beat. I only think Nunu's Consume Smite would outdo it.
Consume Smite is still OP.
Oh,
Who's
it's always
one of the best jungles,
Been,
except for
but,
the fact that his ult is non-functional because everyone knows how to stop it. And the rest of Nunu is just sort of silly. It's not great, is all
It's
I'm
not
saying.
silly.
It's not bad. It's got
He's-
high poke potential and stupid sustain. It's just... It's not the best.
The amount of times that I've seen people caught out in a bush because he's just been sitting there charging up his ult and the enemy team engages on everyone else and they just keep fighting and not actually look in that bush.
It's so stupid.
So they
kinda
realise,
notice
where'd all
the
my
ice
health go?
around
And
the
then
team.
Nunu walks out of the bushes going,
Patch note. They said they were taking that out.
I've
You've never
actually
used
had
Revive in
moments
your
where I'm
life.
sitting there like, I kind of wish I had, what was it, clarity?
Yeah,
I kind of wish I had clarity.
taking that out too. It's upsetting.
They
can you...
said they were buffing the other summoner spells to make Flash less viable. Or rather, make Flash less required, which I liked the idea of. But I don't feel like anything has been buffed.
I don't think they've implemented those summoner spell changes yet. I remember reading it.
I remember reading that they were going to change them, and then I read the description of all the summoner spells on that nicely designed website, and went, that actually isn't a change. That's what it is already. So I'm assuming they're cutting, or they have cut, cooldown on a lot of those spells, like Ghost, etc. Which I like the idea of, because Flash is probably too powerful now, and I'm not a Flash user, so that makes me sad.
Just perusing this, I don't think they've changed those yet. I remember reading them, and I remember like Ghost gave you, it was increased movement speed, and it had other useful components to it. All the summoner spells did have an increased usefulness to them, and they've been tweaked. I was like, yeah, they look really good. And I'll probably start take.
I'm not sure where you read that, because that'd be really interesting to see what they'd tweak, because
I can't remember for the life of me. where
everything
read
I
this.
saw said that Ghost was staying at 35% move speed and the ability to run through minions, which is actually a nerf, because you no longer have masteries to buff it up to actually good movement speed.
I can't back this up at all.
All
But
I'm saying
like,
is
Look here,
Buff my
this is
Ghost.
where it says it. I don't think they've changed much in a way just yet, but I thought it was a part of the things they were going to do.
they're also going to change runes, and there's nothing about that just yet.
Oh, and everyone out there that's hating Eve at the moment because the vision changes has made her OP as shit, because she can just come in there and destroy that pink ward that you were using to spot her before she came and ganked, and then she just runs off and then comes back and ganks you like 30 seconds later. Just get your jungler to counter jungler her, because she's weak as early.
True story.
Just have your jungler camp her jungle and destroy her every time she comes in there.
It's
She'll be level
actually
4, and your jungler will be fine because he's been living off their jungle.
something that I've said, but no one else agrees with. I actually feel that Eve has been slightly nerfed, technically, or rather, bad Eves have been nerfed and good Eves have been buffed. Because a good Eve can gank you well, but a good Eve could gank you well even if you had vision of her and knew she was coming. She was capable of still winning even against pink wards. And so a good Eve in that scenario has been nerfed because there's no longer pink ward tax. Every lane isn't buying pink wards to try and counter you because it's not viable to do that. And so a good Eve, a really good Eve player, was in a scenario previously where just by being on her team she was costing the enemy team gold and still getting kills. Now bad Eves are all like, lol, I can actually gank now. And good Eves are like, well, I can still gank, and it's slightly better now than it used to be. But everyone has so much more money. It's something I've noted, but probably is a total lie. I don't know. I've played with some damn good EVE players, and I want to become one, but I don't get enough practice because mid lane Mealstrom right now.
A 35% increase on EVE's ban rate has something to say.
I think a lot of people were more intimidated by the changes and going, "Oh god, EVE will be so overpowered because she's stealth."
Anyone with a stealth mechanic now has had, I believe, a slight buff, especially if they can do that.
Well, you can still throw down the pink ward as required. A lot of supports were doing that back in the day.
Champions like go where you can sort of see there's an indication of where they've used their ability, and like Kali and those sort of champions, they haven't necessarily been buffed, but that constant I think Twitch could also be quite a bit of a pest at the moment, just because it's a lot harder and wasteful to use the visible vision ward to the pink ward essentially. The lens.
The solution to that, but a lot of people aren't taking that, and they certainly aren't.
That doesn't do anything until level 9 when you can upgrade it.
Oh yeah, early levels it's not going to make a difference, but once you've got to the level 9 and bought the upgrade, you can deny the Twitch escapes. You can't so much deny the attacks because you don't know they're about to happen until they've happened, and that's the nature of stealth champions and why that mechanic exists.
I'm finding it too hard to control those the bushes in the bottom lane, so that you can so easily get ganked, and it's too hard to control, maintain control, and it's not worth your 100 gold to put it in the bushes that you're fighting over constantly. Yeah, you could do tri-bush and stuff like that if you're worried about getting ganked, but if they coming down and actually gank you around, the 3-minute mark.
It's interesting, but at least it's not like old Evelyn, I'm stealth inside your team for 60 seconds, or old Twitch who did the same for 50 seconds.
People just need to learn to deal with it.
Stealth isn't as bad as it used to be, and people do need to learn how to deal with stealth champions again.
Counter jungle the crap out of her so she can't do shit.
It's a brand new scenario. So I think that's it, although we do need to come up with a name for this show, in case I do it again.
Patch notes.
Wow, you're classy. I used to do a League of Legends patch podcast, but that flopped because Twitch. I don't like Twitch.
Well, let's face it. There's going to be a lot of changes. We'll go pre-season patch notes because I think it'll change again. I was just going to
call it Metashift because that's like.
We haven't spoken anything about meta.
Everything that we just talked about is meta.
The simple point of the meta is what the pros do. And unless you've been constantly observing their streams, which I will admit that I haven't been, because I'm like, pre-season, I'd much rather play it and get a handle of it on myself and then take advantage of what I perceive to be ranked to increase my own self-standing. But the meta won't, until the LCS kicks back up again, I don't think we'll be seeing too much in the way of meta shaping until all the teams come back and start competing again, and we start seeing which champions they deem to be the greatest in the patch.
Until then, kill lane bottom, and duo lane top, no jungle, because why even bother?
I don't think you can do that quite at the moment.
4 relic shields. 4 relic shields equals win.
But you've definitely got to try mages bottom lane, or any of your mid lane mages. Try them bottom lane if they have definitely some form of CC, because now with the new money changes, they can actually make something of themselves and be a huge threat. And he is not the only one that can sit down bottom lane and wreck faces.
Yep.
Well, on that note, it's time for us all to go back to real life. Thank you all for watching, and good night.
Bye.
Bye.